Chapter 67 Ultimate Transformation. Attribute Amplification. The core strength of Dai Yuheng's team was comprised of Chen Zifeng, Ling Luoken, and himself. Among the other four, Xu Sanqi was comparatively stronger in terms of direct combat. The remaining three consisted of Hua Yuao, Wang Dong, and Xia Xiao. To them, the only advantage brought about by having Hua Yuao on their team was that Ling Luoken's ability shouldn't be restricted, but that was all. Elderson indicated for both parties to space out, but he didn't give them time to familiarize themselves with one another this time around. As soon as both parties were 150 meters apart, he sounded the command for them to begin. Both sides were closer to one another this time around. As soon as Elderson gave the signal to begin, the control system battle soul masters on both sides immediately activated their skills. Dai Yuheng, Chen Zifeng, and Xu Sanqi were in front. Ling Luoken was in the middle, and Wang Dong, Hua Yuao, and Xia Xiao were in the back. Ling Luoken ran ahead of Hua Yuao, then turned her head back to look at Hua Yuao, her cold gaze bearing a degree of curiosity and alertness. Hua Yuao shrugged his shoulders towards her. Afterwards, both of his foolproof white soul rings lit up once more. Just like before, his spiritual detection sharing was activated when the moment that his first soul ring lit up. The people in front of him shuddered, all simultaneously shuddered. If it weren't for the fact that they were all well experienced in battle, they wouldn't have been able to keep themselves from turning and staring at Hua Yuao. Dai Yuheng and Chen Zifeng finally understood why Ma Xiaodao's Phoenix meteor shower had been so accurate before. However, they hadn't even thought that it had been due to Hua Yuao. Were his soul rings just white, 10-year ones? How could he have such a powerful spiritual type soul skill? Furthermore, he previously used an ice attribute martial soul, right? As such, how had this spiritual type soul skill come about? Both parties were just over 100 meters away from one another. It didn't matter that Dai Yuheng, Chen Zifeng, and Ling Luoken had misgivings about this soul skill in their hearts, as they had to face their opponents first. Ling Luoken was also a control system battle soul master. The cold stream that had previously surrounded her rose up once more. As it did, Ma Xiaodao appeared directly across from her. In that moment, her phoenix wings unfurled again, and with Gong Yangmo's help, raging torrential flames appeared once more. The temperature in the assessment area rapidly began to increase. At that exact moment, Ling Luoken felt two warm palms suddenly press themselves against her back. She couldn't help but shudder, which nearly interrupted her soul skill. Ling Luoken was misophobic, quiet, and cold. Besides her close relatives, she'd never let anyone from the opposite sex touch her body before. Amongst the three people standing behind her, the one directly behind her was Hua Yuao. As such, this pair of hands undoubtedly belonged to Hua Yuao. She was immediately enraged, but right when she was about to turn around and lash out at him, she suddenly felt that something about her soul skill had changed. It was difficult to describe the frigid air that had suddenly surged into her body from her back. Her ability was originally ice-based, thus this external force wasn't an attack, but an assimilation. She felt that her ice had turned into an existence that stood on a completely different level than before, while her entire temperament seemed to have subsequently changed because of that frigid feeling. As one of Shrek Academy's inner courtyard disciples, Ling Luoken wasn't only stubbornly strong, she was also extremely knowledgeable when it came to soul masters. She immediately became aware of a possibility that had been unknown to her up until this point. When she thought of this possibility, she immediately understood why she'd previously lost to Hua Yuao in such a dubious manner. It's actually ultimate ice. This tiny youngster actually has an inconceivable martial soul like ultimate ice. Both parties began to near each other as Ling Lachen had this revelation. Ling Luoken quickly calmed down, then immediately confirmed that it was Hua Yuao behind her. However, when she did, she noticed that his two soul rings had actually turned into a single soul ring. Wang Dong was right behind Hua Yuao, and he firmly planted both his hands on Hua Yuao's back as well. She was able to see all of this because of Hua Yuao's spiritual detection. Her ice element had turned into an ultimate ice element. To Ling Luoken, this feeling was both magical and wonderful. Even though this wouldn't turn her into a true ultimate ice soul master, what Hua Yuao had done was equivalent to amplifying her ice attribute for a short period of time, such that she could temporarily use the power of an ultimate ice attribute. Furthermore, ultimate ice that bore the power of a soul king. Ling Luoken's first soul ring metamorphosed into an icy staff, which she then raised over her head. However, she didn't release her second soul ring and equip her ice armor this time around. Instead, she pointed her icy staff towards the sky. When she did, an icy blue halo encased her whole body in a split second, which caused body to be wrapped in an icy blue coat. Immediately afterwards, an icy blue pillar of light soared into the sky. The dry heat that had filled their surroundings was immediately swept into oblivion. Not only that, but once the icy cold draft had risen 10 meters into the air, it rapidly spread like a tide and pressed itself against Ma Xiaodao's phoenix flames. No matter how firm Dai Yuheng's resolution was, he couldn't help but look up at the sky. He just so happened to see an icy blue layer overtake both Chen Zifeng and himself at an astonishing speed. That icy blue layer then rapidly came into contact with Ma Xiaodao's monstrous phoenix flames. When they felt the chilliness brought about by the ultimate ice, Dai Yuheng and Chen Zifeng couldn't help but shiver. Despite being her teammates, they exchanged a glance. The astonishment they felt clearly present in their eyes. All of them were within Hua Yuao's spiritual detection sharing, thus they could naturally tell that Hua Yuao and Wang Dong were both currently supporting Ling Luoken. Furthermore, the cold aura that Ling Luoken had revealed had completely surpassed that of the one she'd revealed in the past. The overwhelming pressure brought about by it shocked even a soul emperor like Dai Yuheng. Ma Xiaodao's reddish golden flames rapidly collided with the icy blue streams of cold. The people on Ma Xiaodao's team were startled to find that their deduction was wrong. The one currently winning wasn't the soul emperor Ma Xiaodao, but rather the soul king Ling Luoken. When the cold streams came into contact with the scorching phoenix flames, they seemed as though they'd suddenly encountered a downpour. The flames dissipated in the face of the cold streams, and were consequently replaced by the cold torrential streams. The cold streams of air shocked every single person on Ma Xiaodao's team, and caused them to feel a little sluggish. Yao Hashwen had already turned into an extremely brawny 4-meter tall man, and he began forcefully thumping his chest. That was his first soul skill, warfare. However, this yellow soul skill of his that strengthened everyone on his team wasn't able to neutralize the chilliness they felt. Contrary to his expectations, he even slowed down a little. It was at this moment that Xia Xiao's inner phoenix worshipping flute suddenly rang out. Under her precise control, the sound waves that caused people to slow down flew past their teammates without affecting them, only affecting the 7 people on Ma Xiaodao's team. Ma Xiaodao's team was strong, but they had a problem. They didn't have a real control system battle soul master on their team. Their opponents, on the other hand, had 3 of them. Under the joint efforts of Ling Luoken and Xia Xiao, their 7-man team had now become significantly slower. Dai Yuheng and Chen Zifeng became fired up when they saw this. They suddenly felt that their loss wasn't necessarily certain in this match, and both released their martial souls. They then simultaneously accelerated towards Ma Xiaodao. Ma Xiaodao was in a completely different situation this match, now that she didn't have Hua Yuao's spiritual detection sharing to aid her. Furthermore, Ling Luoken was suppressing her phoenix flames. Zai Zai, get rid of Hua Yuao. Ma Xiaodao shouted out as she faced Dai Yuheng and Chen Zifeng head-on without a shred fear in her body. Bei Bei and he K2 flanked her from the sides, but a flash of lightning immediately sparked past all of them, which formed a refraction at an alarming speed. Zai Zai had already reached Hua Yuao's side only a second after Ma Xiaodao had shouted. Neither Ling Luoken's cold streams nor Xia Xiao's inner phoenix worshipping flute were capable of impairing Zai Zai's speed by a large amount. She was Zai Zai, an ordinary-looking girl, yet a true assassin-like agility system soul master. Dong, lightning shot out in all directions amidst the prolonged sound that was produced from a collision. Zai Zai finally revealed her true self from within the lightning. In that moment, her pupils were vertical, while her skin had turned black, and lightning was currently coiling around body. That's right, this was her martial soul, lightning leopard. However, someone had blocked that attack of hers, which she unleashed with the intention to win. It was only natural that Hua Yuao and Wang Dong wouldn't have been able to block her sudden attack head-on, but there was someone who could. Xu Sanqi. His huge shield of the Swanwu turtle had landed right in front of Hua Yuao, which had caused Zai Zai to rebound from her attack. After her attack struck, Xu Sanqi positioned himself horizontally from her. At that moment, Da Yuheng and Chen Zifeng were even more aware of the wonder brought about by Huo Yuao's spiritual detection. They were able to completely grasp the situation on the battlefield in a three-dimensional form at all times due to his spiritual detection. Normally, a speedy assassin such as Zai Zai would dart behind their opponents and ambush them where they knew they'd appear. However, they didn't make a detour to deal with Zai Zai this time around. Shu Sanchi's obstruction had appeared in their spiritual detection, thus all they needed to do was face their opponent's head on. Both parties were about to collide with one another, when Da Yuheng suddenly revealed a somewhat strange smile on his face. Following that, his fourth soul ring suddenly lit up. A bright, golden white pillar of light soared into the sky. A brilliant, crescent moon-shaped light seemed to shine from within the light pillar. Shortly afterwards, tens of balls of light appeared from atop the light pillar and descended in a flash. They passed Ma Xiaodao by, then split into two groups. One group headed towards the skybound Gong Yangmo, while the other portion rapidly dispersed and shot towards Jiang Nanan and Hikaetu. Who doesn't know how to unleash a meteor shower? You have your Phoenix meteor shower. I have my white tiger meteor shower. An eye for an eye, a tooth for a tooth. It's my turn to land a clean hit now that I have Huo Yuao's spiritual detection on my side. If they were competing based purely on strength alone, Da Yuheng naturally wouldn't be able to compare to Ma Xiaodao's 6-ring soul skill with just his 4-ringed one. They were both meteor showers, but his was much weaker than hers. However, his meteor shower had a much smaller amount of meteors compared to Ma Xiaodao, which caused every single meteor of his to be more powerful in their own right. Moreover, the main target he'd chosen wasn't the weakest amongst the three from the opposing team, but rather their team's main attacker, Gong Yangmo. As long as he was able to get rid of Gong Yangmo, the strength of Ma Xiaodao's team would plummet. Gong Yangmo had already released 3 soul skills at this point. The first soul skill he'd used was Scarlet Strength, the second was Orange Soul, and the third soul skill was Yellow Speed. These 3 soul skills caused 3 halos to appear atop the heads of everyone on his team. With Yao Hashwen's amplification then added onto them, their party was now much stronger, and if one were to isolate their team and look at each individual's current state, they'd clearly be able to see this. However, the moment that both parties were about to engage in a close quarters battle, Ling Luoken suddenly let out another attack. Ling Luoken's third soul ring instantly lit up as she pointed her icy staff forward, which caused an icy blue ray of light to strike the top of Ma Xiaodao's head. The blue light enveloped her and instantly entrapped her within an icy prison. Ma Xiaodao's charge immediately halted her charge and her fiercely struck the icy prison with her phoenix flames. However, the icy prison didn't shatter like she'd expected it to. Only a few cracks had appeared. Ma Xiaodao's fiery flames had been completely suppressed by this icy prison. Of the 7 within the official team, Ma Xiaodao didn't just have a bad relationship with Da Yuheng. Her relationship with Ling Luoken wasn't good either. She was of the fire element, while Ling Luoken was of the ice element. As such, their dispositions naturally clashed with each other. In the past, Ling Luoken had refused to help Ma Xiaodao suppress her evil fire. If she hadn't, she wouldn't have had to stoop to finding Shu Sanchi. However, Ma Xiaodao had always suppressed Ling Luoken in terms of pure cultivation. She definitely didn't want to lose against her this time around. Opportunities on the battlefield were both transient and fleeting. A single moment's opportunity could change the entire situation of a battle. Da Yuheng had originally planned to fight Ma Xiaodao in a direct confrontation. However, the moment that Ling Luoken had made her move, he'd been able to figure out who her target was due to Huo Yuao's spiritual detection. His body suddenly flickered, and his first, third, and fifth soul rings once again lit up. This brought him to the peak of his abilities, and in an instant, he found Bei Bei. With the assistance of Gong Yangmo's Rainbow Dragon, Bei Bei was able to block 3 of Da Yuheng's blows. However, he still retreated step by step as blood dripped from his mouth and nose. At the same time, Gong Yangmo was doing his best to protect himself from the White Tiger's meteor shower. As a result, he wasn't able to assist Ma Xiaodao. On the other hand, Jiang Nanan and Hikaetu's only choice was to exhaust their abilities in order to protect themselves from the White Tiger's meteor shower. Their originally orderly formation had crumbled in an instant. With a flash of blue light, Yao Hashwen, who just saw a meteor from the White Tiger's meteor shower and spat it out to help Gong Yangmo, was suddenly trapped in another icy prison. At that moment, Ma Xiaodao finally broke through the icy prison that had entrapped her. However, Ling Luoken's attack arrived at the same instant that she broke free. She pointed her icy staff forwards and her ink-like 5th soul ring lit up. A dark blue ring of ice then floated outwards. The extreme cold it emanated covering the entire assessment area in a layer of frost. Ma Xiaodao's evil fire was then subsequently suppressed to the point where it could only actually appear in a 2-meter diameter around her. On the other side of the battlefield, Zai Zai continued to attack Shu Sanchi wildly. However, even though she was quick, her attacks weren't very strong. On the other hand, the Soul Ancestor ranked Shu Sanchi was essentially a well-guarded fortress. He relied on the accurate predictive capabilities of Huo Yuao's spiritual detection to defend Huo Yuao, Wang Dong, and Xia Xiao in a timely manner using his shield of the Swanwu turtle. Ling Luoken's dark blue ring of ice continued to slowly rise, while the bluish light on it circulated and released 3 blue pillars of light that shot towards Ma Xiaodao, Gong Yangmo, and Yao Hashwen respectively. As a control-type soul master, Ling Luoken's held an enormous amount of control over her ice. With Huo Yuao's elemental amplification, she was able to instantly gain the initiative with this attack. Ma Xiaodao gritted her teeth. She knew that if this attack were to land, there was a high possibility that she wouldn't be able to turn things around. She flapped her wings fiercely, which caused the soul power within her body to suddenly explode outwards. Amidst the sonorous cry of a phoenix, her body turned illusory. In that instant, she seemed to transform into a genuine phoenix. The golden reddish light on her legs lit up, and she accelerated toward Ling Luoken as she activated her 5th soul ring. If she wasn't able to deal with Ling Luoken, she wouldn't have another chance to take back the initiative. However, how could Ling Luoken, who was the core control-type soul master of her team, be allowed to take on Ma Xiaodao's all-out blow? Da Yuheng's muscular body suddenly appeared on the only path that Ma Xiaodao could take. Amidst the roar of a tiger, his 6th soul ring finally lit up. An enormous skill that alternated between black and white appeared in midair and collided with the charging Ma Xiaodao, who'd been assisted by her 2-leg soul bones. Boom! A violent undulation of soul power instantly spread outwards from the point of their collision, which forced everyone to bend down and defend themselves. When the fierce, fiery red light collided with the golden white tiger, they shot straight into the air. Their figures instantly separated once they collided with each other. Da Yuheng was sent flying backwards from the collision, and 2 deep grooves had appeared on the ground below him. When he finally stopped, he was already knee-deep in the ground. Ma Xiaodao wasn't feeling any better. As she tumbled on the ground, she was struck by Ling Luoken's icy ring, and was frozen into a dark blue pillar of ice as a result. As for Gong Yangmo, even though his auxiliary abilities were extremely strong, he wasn't specialized in combat. Hikaetu did his best to rescue him with his soul tools, but a 10,000-year soul skill that held the power of ultimate ice wasn't something that a class 4 soul engineer could withstand. The power of ice enveloped him, and he was frozen solid as well. There was no need to even mention Yao Hashwen. Before he could destroy the icy prison that had entrapped him, Ling Luoken reinforced it. As a result, his massive body was sealed within the icy prison. With Huo Yuao's elemental amplification, Ling Luoken's level of control over the battlefield had been at least doubled. The blood-red soul-chasing sword flickered proudly as it shot forwards. It smashed into the solid pillars of ice that were Ma Xiaodao, Gong Yangmo, and Yao Hashwen's bodies, then flew towards Bei Bei, Hikaetu, and Jiang Nanan. Bei Bei had already been injured, and he'd consumed an enormous amount of soul power. Hikaetu's consumption of soul power had been similarly enormous. Jiang Nanan had already expended all of her strength when she defended herself against the White Tiger's meteor shower. How could the 3 of them currently defend themselves against Chen Zifeng's powerful soul-chasing sword? With the help of Huo Yuao's spiritual detection, the battle ended in just 3 breaths of time. The battles going on the other side of the battlefield ended as well. When Da Yuheng clashed against Ma Xiaodao, a flaw finally appeared in Shu Sanchi's defense. How could Zai Zai give up on an opportunity like this? She charged towards Huo Yuao, who stood behind Ling Luoken, with a flash. At that moment, however, Huo Yuao suddenly turned around. 2 bolts of purplish golden lightning shot out of his eyes towards Zai Zai's. Zai Zai only felt as if her head had been viciously smashed by a hammer. An instantaneous period of blankness overwhelmed her mind. Regardless of how quick she was still a soul king. Huo Yuao had fused his spiritual shock with his purple demon eyes, and had utilized the spiritual power from the Hadong power. Even Ma Xiaodao would have been momentarily stunned by his attack. Huo Yuao wasn't the only person who'd made a move. Xia Xiao, who'd been standing there and playing her flute by herself, finally finally made her a move as well. Her enormous pitch black cauldron mightily rumbled forwards as she released her national treasure, Cauldron's quaking tremble. She used her strongest soul skill, then maneuvered it right in front of Zai Zai's body with the help of Huo Yuao's spiritual detection. Even though Zai Zai had only been stunned for a single second, that was enough time for her. Wang Dong's charged up attack also finally arrived and struck Zai Zai. Even though she'd been able to quickly recover from Xiao's Cauldron's quaking tremble with her powerful cultivation, it wasn't possible for her to dodge this attack. Wang Dong's 1,000-year soul skill, the butterfly goddess slash. Immediately after touching Zai Zai, the enormous ball of light instantly transformed into 108 blades of light, which crisscrossed as they struck her. Moreover, this skill had been strengthened by both the Haodong power and the golden light. Once this attack had been released, he and Huo Yua fell to the ground, powerless. These 108 blades of light weren't inferior to a powerful attack launched by a four-ringed soul ancestor. Even if Zai Zai was the quickest among everyone present, she was still flustered when she was struck by the attack. She'd never expected the three of them to be able to lay a trap for her with just their 2- and 3-ringed cultivations. She went all out and released 3 consecutive soul skills before she was able to dissolve the might of the butterfly goddess slash. However, she wasn't able to dodge the shield of the Swanwu turtle that struck her from behind. The other battles had already ended, and Zai Zai was sent flying by the shield of the Swanwu turtle. Now that he'd taken a breather, Dalu Heng struck out with his palms and caught Zai Zai, who continued to flicker with electricity. Despite his hair standing up from her electricity, she still gave up the moment he extended his claws. The battle had ended, with the result of the battle still being a perfect victory. However, the victors were evidently different. Dalu Heng, Chen Zifeng, and Ling Luoken weren't joyous the moment the battle ended. Instead, they immediately turned towards Huo Yuao, who was sitting on the ground. Chen Zifeng had an astonished look on his face. Twin martial souls? And you also have them? The other person he was referring to was naturally Xiao. He finally understood, at least to some extent, why Elderson wanted to make them members of the preparatory team, despite them being so young. Ling Luoken's question was only targeted towards Huo Yuao. Ultimate ice? What could Huo Yuao do except nod? Dalu Heng took a few steps forwards and helped Huo Yuao and Wang Dong stand up. A trace of a smile appeared on his face. Welcome to the preparatory team of the Shrek 7 monsters. I know that you have a few conflicting views with my younger brother, but I'm not him. You don't have to mind me. In the future, we'll all be companions. There was no doubt that Dalu Heng's words were equivalent to acknowledging Huo Yuao, Wang Dong, and Xiao as members of the preparatory team. However, Huo Yuao didn't feel happy in the least when he heard Dalu Heng's words. On the contrary, he became extremely vigilant. Dalu Heng's smile appeared to be genuine, but the more genuine it looked, the colder he felt in his heart. When he'd met the former earlier, the trace of killing intent that had flashed through his eyes hadn't escaped Huo Yuao's keen spirit eyes. Furthermore, Dalu Heng was one of the sons of the White Tiger Duke, Huo Yuao's greatest foe. An enemy that could hide his feelings was undoubtedly much more dangerous than one who wore his feelings on his sleeve. As an upperclassman, Dalu Heng was definitely more terrifying than Dai Huobin to Huo Yuao. Moreover, he was also his elder brother. If it weren't for the fact that Huo Yuao looked more like his mother, Dalu Heng would have noticed that something was wrong. Thanks, replied Huo Yuao with a smile. He was very clever. If Dalu Heng could hide his emotions, why couldn't he? At the very least, Dalu Heng wouldn't dare to make a move against him within the academy due to the lesson Dai Huobin had received. Have you felt it? A live battle is the best way to test everything out. Huo Yuao, Wang Dong, and Xiao aren't strong enough by themselves, but they have a respectable amount of talent. Thus, I'm giving them this chance. Huo Yuao, from now on, you're the main control type soulmaster of the preparatory team. Bei, you'll be its leader. A team leader was the head of a team, while the main control type soulmaster was the brains of a team. By relying on his performance in the previous 2 matches, Huo Yuao was worthy of becoming the main control type soulmaster in the preparatory team, even with his 2-ring cultivation. Nobody objected to this. At this moment, the frozen Ma Xiaotao and the rest finally broke free of their bindings. Shivering somewhat, Ma Xiaotao glared fiercely at Huo Yuao. Huo Yuao shrugged helplessly towards her. He didn't know why, but he preferred Ma Xiaotao's faux anger over Dai Yueheng's smile. Elderson was very pleased with today's matches. He understood how strong each member of the official team was. After Ma Xiaotao returned, there were a few voices of dissent within the team. After today's matches, however, she had revealed a persuasive amount of power. Though they'd lost the second match, everybody could see that she was slightly stronger than Dai Yueheng overall. Naturally, the situation could be different in a life and death match. After all, this was just a mock battle. The members of the official team hadn't used any relatively brutal techniques. However, Elderson mainly wanted to test out the 7 members of the preparatory team. Bei, Xu Sanqi, Zhang Nanan, and Ikadu's performances conformed to his expectations. Zhang Nanan was an agility-type soulmaster, and she had been suppressed relatively heavily. Thus, one couldn't blame her for not being able to perform spectacularly. However, Elderson was surprised by Huo Yuao's trio. They had the lowest cultivation levels within their team, but they were extremely well coordinated with each other. Huo Yuao was also able to strengthen the combat strength of his entire team by relying on his powerful spiritual detection. When he was teamed up with Ma Xiaotao, he was able to use the golden road at the right moment in order to settle the entire battle. Though their opponents had underestimated them due to unfamiliarity, the effectiveness of the golden road was evident. Furthermore, the existence of Huo Yuao was equivalent to an ice-type soulmaster who could restrict everything. Ling Luoken was already the most outstanding ice-type soulmaster within the inner courtyard, but she was completely suppressed in front of his ultimate ice. When she worked together with him, she had an all-around boost to her abilities. Evidently, they couldn't be allowed to become enemies before the tournament started. Once the two of them worked together, Ling Luoken could definitely become the main control type soulmaster within the official team. The reason why Ma Xiaotao had lost was because she had been completely suppressed. Huo Yuao's only problem was his lack of cultivation. Otherwise, Elderson would have even considered letting him try to become the main control type soulmaster on the official team. These 2 matches had solidified the confidence in Elderson's heart. He'd secretly made a decision within the preparatory team, which was the future generation of the Shrek 7 monsters. Huo Yuao's position as the main control type master would never change. Chen Zifeng laughed mischievously. A few people had to pay up their bets. After hearing his reminder, the newly crowned victors immediately looked towards Ma Xiaotao with a smile. The saddest of the lot were undoubtedly Yao Hashwen and Zhang Nanan. They'd lost 2 consecutive matches. Ma Xiaotao glared at Huo Yuao again. You just wait for me. I'm a pig. The others could only helplessly refer to themselves as a certain chubby animal. Elderson laughed as he watched all this, feeling joyous inwardly. He believed that Huo Yuao's generation of the Shrek 7 monsters would definitely be stronger than the current generation in 5 years' time. Okay, you can all go back. Pack up your things. Gather at the academy's entrance tomorrow morning. We're going to Douluo City to take part in a competition. Douluo City? Huo Yuao couldn't help but cry out after hearing these words. Elderson looked towards him with a somewhat puzzled look in his eyes. Is there a problem? The Continental Advanced Academy Soul Dueling Tournament is held in a different country every year. This time around, it's the Douluo Empire's turn. The next one, which is the one you'll be able to participate in as an official team member, will be held in the Sun Moon Empire. It'll be held in the Sun Moon Imperial Soul Engineering Academy. Thus, you'll have to work even harder during these next 5 years. How could Huo Yuao not reveal a change in his emotions after hearing the words Douluo City? He'd never been to the capital of the Douluo Empire, but Douluo City was something he'd heard too many times during his youth. The Duke's mansion he'd grown up in was only 25 kilometers south of Douluo City. When the weather was good, he would be able to faintly see the silhouette of the imperial capital from the outskirts of the Duke's mansion. Huo Yuao's heartbeat involuntarily sped up. He'd never thought that he would have to go back this quickly. Dai Yueheng was a member of the official team, and wouldn't he bring everyone to the Duke's mansion? Though the 2 brothers no longer recognized him, he was still someone who'd grown up in the Duke's mansion. The servants there had seen him many times in the past. The moment he thought of returning to the place he'd grown up in, the place he resented and hated incomparably, Huo Yuao's heart was immediately thrown into disorder. Huo Yuao lowered his head and replied, "It's nothing. I just didn't think that we'd have to go to the Douluo Empire." Elderson didn't take it to heart. Then you can all go back now. Huo Yuao and Wang Dong walked all the way back to the dormitories. Nobody else had noticed anything strange about Huo Yuao, but Wang Dong's senses were very acute. After living with the former for more than a year, he was relatively familiar with him. Furthermore, he knew the hatred that existed in his heart. Yuao, are you okay? Wang Dong whispered. Huo Yuao shook his head. I'm fine. I just can't adapt to suddenly going back. I can't let Dai Yueheng know of my true identity. Wang Dong was silent for a moment, then whispered, Yuao, you should be your older brother. You. Stirred up, Hu Yuao interrupted him. I don't have an elder brother, nor do I have any relatives. My mum is dead, and I'm only an orphan. Fine, an orphan it is. Wang Dong hurriedly parroted him. Sorry. Hu Yuao nodded his head gloomily. Wang Dong walked over to him and sat beside him. Don't think too much about it. There'll always be a way to get over this. Furthermore, it's not guaranteed that someone will recognize you even if we go back. Haven't you felt that you've changed greatly during this past year? Even someone who previously recognized you might not be able to tell who you are now. I know that you're pained, but since you've chosen to face them and seek revenge, you have to be strong. The opponent you're going against is extremely strong. Hu Yuao was stunned. Have I changed a lot? Wang Dong knocked him on the head once, then passed him a mirror from his bedside. Take a look for yourself. Right. Using the words heaven-shaking and earth-shattering to describe Hu Yuao's transformation over this past year at Shrek Academy wouldn't be inappropriate. In the beginning, he was only a bashful, ordinary youth who even seemed rustic. Over this past year, however, not only did he experience a tremendous growth in his strength, he even became a core disciple of the academy. At the same time, an enormous transformation had occurred to his outer appearance and his demeanor. Strength would make a person confident. With his 2 intelligent soul rings, and especially the Ice Jade Emperor Scorpion soul bone, he'd grown much taller. When he'd arrived at the academy, he looked somewhat thin and weak. However, he was now as strong as a calf. His originally unhealthy facial appearance now shone with a rosy gloss. Moreover, he was filled with the aura of the sun. Wang Dong was correct during this past year. He turned over an entirely new leaf. He was no longer the servant-like Hu Yuao who'd lived in the Duke's mansion. Actually, you've already set a target for yourself. Since that's the case, if we do go there, so be it. Why think too much about it? Wang Dong stood up and took the mirror back from Hu Yuao. Then, he took the initiative to sit in a cross-legged position and extended his hands towards him. Come, let's cultivate. We're still too far away from our seniors in terms of cultivation. We have to work hard. Hu Yuao finally revealed a smile after seeing Wang Dong's serious expression. Since a lazy fellow like you is actually asking me to cultivate, let's do it. I'm going to surpass you sooner or later. Wang Dong feigned surprise as he looked towards the window. Why are there cows flying in the sky? I know. It's because you're spouting bullshit. Don't you dare laugh at me. I'll show you how awesome I am. Hu Yuao suddenly pounced towards Wang Dong. Defenseless, the latter let out an astonished cry as he immediately tumbled onto the bed. Hu Yuao held onto his hands eagerly, then shouted, Are you gonna submit? No. Wang Dong shouted provokingly, You're really not gonna submit? Hu Yuao slowly pressed down on him, and the distance between his face and Wang Dong's began to decrease. He had a naughty smile on his face as he looked at the latter's pair of beautiful, round eyes. As Hu Yuao continued to get closer to him, Wang Dong could feel his breathing on his face. He was finally panicking, and hence shut his eyes subconsciously, but he still forced out a few words. No, I won't submit. Hu Yuao was left in a daze as he looked at Wang Dong's long, trembling eyebrows. He was just a few inches away from him, and he could smell the faint fragrance coming from him. He didn't know why, but he shivered uncontrollably as he looked at Wang Dong, who was being forced down by him, so much so that he was completely helpless. He hurriedly let go of Wang Dong's hands, then grabbed his pinkish face and squeezed it. Then, he laughed. If you won't submit, I'll make you look like a pig. Hey, you look rather good even as a pig. Quickly, stick out your mouth so you'll look even more like one. Hu Yuao, I'm gonna fight you. Thanks so much for watching this video. Don't forget to hit the like button and subscribe. Also leave a comment down below with suggestions on what novels to read.